I think I'm officially in love with the new 3D meshes inside After Effects. So in this tutorial, I'll show you how I build this torus infinity shape entirely inside After Effects using native parametric meshes and a custom substance material that I created from scratch. By the end of this video, you'll not only know how to build this exact setup, but also understand how to combine parametric meshes, substance materials, and lighting to create your own stylized 3D MoGraph element directly inside After Effects. Alright, let's jump in. So the first thing is to create the texture here inside After Effects. For that, I'll create a new composition. The width and the height are both set to 2048 by 2048. The duration doesn't matter. You can name it texture if you like. We only need just one frame from this. So this is our starting point. We're actually going to start by double-clicking the rectangle tool, which is going to fill the screen with the shape layer. And I'm using no stroke and white fill. However, I will detach the proportions between the width and the height and change the height to 204. I happen to know this works beautiful in this case. And then I'll go to the align panel and align it to the edge of the comp. Next, I'm going to duplicate this by selecting this rectangle, pressing Command D, and then I'll change the color, in this case, to black. Now, in order to see what I'm doing, I'll turn on the transparency grid, and then while this is still selected, I'll just nudge it down. Let's just zoom in so we can see it a little bit more accurate. It needs to actually touch the edge of the white shape. So something like this will work for us. And then we can fit back or maybe even zoom in so we can actually start to type the text. Now, for the text, I need to tell you that I was listening to Ian Jury and the Blockheads while building this. So yes, the groove absolutely sneaked into my design. And there's something about that slightly retro, funky energy that just fits this looping torus infinity, don't you think?
Reasons to be cheerful. Part 3.
Anyway, back to the pixels. So armed with the text tool, I'll type reasons to be cheerful, and I will reformat it using the Gotham narrow font. You can use whatever you want, and let's choose the bold weight for it. I'll set the text size to 150 pixels. I think this works good here. And then I'll eyeball it so it will be in the center of this frame. And then I'll duplicate this text, drag it down, change the fill color to white, and then make sure it is centered. So this looks good to my eye. So let's just zoom out, then create an adjustment layer above everything. And for this adjustment layer, I'll apply the reptile effect and start to expand it down until it will fill the screen. Now, if you see a little bit of a sliver here, like in my case, this means that probably the shapes are not separated all the way in. So I just want to quickly go and fix that by nudging it 1 or 2 pixels until it looks correct. And I think that this is working. So now I need to save this image, and I'll use Video Copilot FX Console, which is the easiest way to just save a PNG or a JPEG. A JPEG should work in this case. I'm just going to save it on the desktop, and I'll name it Ian, of course. So as you may know, right now, After Effects supports SBSAR's materials only. That's the substance 3D format that allows full procedural adjustable materials inside After Effects. Now, there are loads of free SBSAR's materials you can download and use straight away. But of course, we don't want presets, we want control. So to create your own material, you'll need Substance 3D Sampler. Now, it's not included in the regular Creative Cloud All Apps plan. It's part of the Substance bundle. Inside Sampler, you can generate a material from images, build procedural patterns, tweak roughness, metallic values, height, normals, and many other good stuff. Once exported as a SBSAR file, you simply load it into After Effects and everything stays editable. Personally, I'd love to see that Adobe will allow materials built directly from regular images or even pre-comps inside After Effects. Imagine driving roughness with an animated noise or displacement from a comp. That would be wild. But until that day arrives, this is the cleanest and most powerful way to build fully customizable 3D materials for After Effects. So here inside Sampler, I'm going to create a new project and I'll choose Convert Image to Material, which is actually going to use some AI behind the scenes. It asks me to drop a file from my device, or I can use the asset library, but I actually prepared my file. So I'll click over here, point it to the desktop. This is the texture that I want to create, or actually the file that I want to create the texture from. And for the category, I think my best bet in this case is to start with this preset, plastic rubber. But you can go your own way and you can customize everything after the fact. Then all you need to do is just click create and wait for a few moments as Substance Sampler is going to calculate everything and generate the material from this image. Once this is finished, you'll see the preview of the material and you can just drag your mouse around to see how this works. And of course, we need to customize it. So this is just the beginning. First, I think I don't really need the equalize layer in this case. I'm just going to select and delete it. Now, Sampler, in case you are seeing it for the first time, really easy application to use. If you're coming from Photoshop, you basically build your materials procedurally using layers. So this is our texture, and this is the image to material layer powered by AI. So over here we have a few sliders, and let's just scroll up so we can actually take a look at what we are getting here. It's a bit messy, so I think I'm just going to remove the micro, medium, and large details. So I'm not going to get these artifacts. I still see them, so I'll scroll all the way down. And in this case, I'm going to take the de-lighting intensity all the way to 0, which is going to make it nice and sharp and clean. And this is what I want in this case. Now, in case you want to control the colors or other properties, you can actually publish them when you export your material. So there are a few ways to work. One is to go to this add a layer here and search for something. This is going to show you a very short list, or you can go over here under the assets and just scroll down where you can see the materials, and over here you have all the filters available to you. So I'm just going to click away so I can concentrate over here. And what I would like to take is this color variation and just drag and drop it above everything. So go ahead and experiment with this. You have plenty of stuff that you can add, like delighter, dirt, dust, exposure, erode, equalize that we just deleted, as well as many other cool options. These are all, again, parametric things that you can modify. Once I edit something, it's going to switch me to this 2D, 3D mode. So I can actually see the texture and control what I want to do. So in this case, I actually want to change the colors. I click on the first one and set it to white. And then I click on the second one and set this to black. But of course, you can set it to any color you like. You can see the preview. I think this is going to be our starting point. And if you want to publish those two colors, when you export the material to After Effects, just click on this little pin. And this is going to make sure you will have control inside After Effects for those options when and if you want to edit them. And again, we are just scratching the surface, but for this example, this is all we need. So let's head up to the export button, and you can, if you want, send it to other Substance applications. But in this case, I'm just going to say export as, then give it a directory. I'm going to save it on the desktop. And I'm going to call this Ian, after, of course, Ian Jury. And for the second option under SBSAR, you can choose which one of the channels you want to export. Now, usually I just leave the default, but there are other options here to choose. I don't think that you need any more of these in terms of your After Effects material, but again, feel free to experiment with this. I found out that starting with a 2K image in terms of resolution should suffice. So I'm happy. I'll click export. And as you can see, it will export the file. bake all the necessary materials into it, as well as give us those options to modify the colors inside After Effects. Back inside After Effects, I'll return to the project panel and create a new composition. This time I'll select the second preset. The duration in this case is going to be just 5 seconds, and I'll name it Infinity Torus. I'll click OK, switch off the transparency grid, and let's start by selecting the torus tool. After Effects is going to tell me, well, in order to use those parametric meshes, you'll need to switch to the advanced 3D renderer. Of course, this is the point of the entire thing here. So I'll switch to it, I'll click OK, and then I'll select the torus tool, double click in order to create it in the middle of the screen. Let's change the orientation so we can see what we are doing. And then I'll start with some measurements, which I know will work nicely here. So 170 for the ring radius, and then I'll tap to the pipe radius and type in 60. You can go your own way here, but this is going to work beautiful with the texture that I've created. Now let's bring the texture by importing it to the project panel. Here it is, the file that we've just exported from Substance Sampler. And once it's inside the project panel, I can apply it using the material pop-up menu. So you can see I have another one that I've created earlier, but this is the one that we just created together. So I'll select this one. And in this case, I'll change the scale to 25. So it will look something like this. And now we can start to animate it. So I think I want to animate the texture offset. And to get fast access to it, I'll double click on it over here, which is going to expose the material texture offset in the timeline. I'll create a keyframe at the start of my composition and then go all the way to the end. And I'll change, I think, just the Y in this case to, let's go with a value of 20 and see how this works. I'll go to the start and play, and it does work, but we do have some sort of a seam. So let's zoom in to see the problem. And in order to fix it, what we need is just to modify slightly the ring radius. So I'll hold down Command, this will be Control in Windows, and I'll start to drag it until it's going to join nicely together. In my case, the value is 171. And I'll preview again, and this looks like it's working beautifully. It's also a seamless animation. All right, so now let's select this guy and duplicate another instance. For this one, I think I want to change the orientation to 270, so it would look like this. And then I'll press and hold the Option key, which will give me a quick access to the Unified Camera tool. Then I can just orbit around this scene so I can see it from another direction. And then I'll press V to return to the Selection tool and move this one to intersect with the other one. And of course, I can press 1, 2, and 3 to move between the different camera tools. So let's just find an interesting angle, maybe something like this, and then we can preview both of them together. I think that for the second one, I want to change the animation. So I'll press U to expose the keyframes, and this time, I think I want to animate the other axis. So I'll reset the Y and go to the start and change the X to -8. I have a little bit of experience with these settings, so let's hope that those values will work. So -8 at the beginning for the X, and then -33 should work for the other direction. And notice how this is looking. Now, I want to remind you that while this is playing, we can go to the material settings and we can play with the colors. So I can click on the color and I can change it to maybe red. I can click on the other one and modify it as well to create something like this. So you have plenty of options how to work with it. I think in this case, I'll reset it to black and white, which will give us this classic look that works really well here. So this is our base setup. From here, you can start art directing the scene however you like. For example, if you add an ambient light at the default 100% intensity, you'll basically remove all shading. You get that flat 3D look, which honestly works beautifully for a lot of motion graphics styles. Or you can go full drama mode. In this version, I used a couple of spotlights with shadows enabled to get those strong highlights and depth cues. Then you can add a few colorful point lights to gently fill the darker areas and introduce subtle color contrast. Another option is using an environment light with an HDR image. Just load any HDR or even a regular image and it becomes your light source. You can now rotate it, transform it, and even animate it to shift the reflections and lighting across the surface. The best part, it all works in real time. So you can experiment freely even if you have zero background in traditional 3D lighting. Just move things around, break stuff, try extremes. That's honestly the fastest way to understand how light shapes form. Don't believe me? Open a comp and try it yourself. So I generally think this looks fantastic, and I'm still slightly amazed that this is all happening natively inside After Effects. Parametric meshes plus custom SBSAR materials open up a completely new level of control, especially for motion designers who never wanted to jump into full 3D software. Now, having said that, I do hope Adobe considers including Substance 3D Sampler in all app subscription. It feels like a missing puzzle piece for this workflow. But I'm curious to know what you think. Is this enough 3D for you, or are you still team external app? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this one, check out the next video right here for more native 3D tricks, more workflow magic, and less friction. I'll see you in the next one.